Today we are visiting a boulder monument that is inscribed with Atlantic rock art.
So this monument is called the Giant's Table. So Giant's Table not to be confused with the Giant's Grave.
We are here in the townland of Lanliss, which is adjacent to the Cavan Burren Park. The Giant's Grave is not far from here. That monument is associated with the Bronze Age. And not too far from us we also find a promontory fort, which is an Iron Age monument.
The understanding would be that all this art tended to take place in the Bronze Age. So this is a highly sculpted piece of flat rock. Some of these depressions may have been solution holes caused by the rain, and then the rest were ground into it. So all around this whole territory, the land is strewn with glacial erratics. Many of the monuments that were built around this area, they built around the glacial erratics. Some of them they may have been able to move, and some of them were obviously so huge that they couldn't move them.
In the fascinating book called Burren Marlbank, a prehistoric monumental landscape by Jim Nolan and Gaby Burns, the authors mention the question as to whether or not this boulder was deposited naturally in the way of most glacial erratics found on pedestals. The consensus from discussions for the moment is that the Lanliss Giant's Table was placed or repositioned upon an existing pedestal, and that sections of that pedestal have been removed as evidenced by percussion marks. Therefore, this is very likely a purposely built boulder monument.
Now what's most interesting to me about this particular rock is that this rock occurs in an area where the land is full of sinkholes. For the ancient people, anything that went to somewhere that they didn't understand, they always associated that with the fairies. So they would have been frightened of it, but also somehow inspired by it as well. Now this particular stone, it features in a story in Marie McNeil's book, The Festival of Lunasa, and this particular stone is associated with May Day celebrations. All that we can see here, this is all hazel. Hazel it figured largely in the Bronze Age. They say that the extent to which they used hazel we can hardly conceive of, because they were practically farming the hazel for the long straight sticks. So they'd use the long straight sticks in their construction of habitations and whatever else they were needing as well.
Rock art is found worldwide. Atlantic rock art is a form of rock carving that was widespread across the Atlantic-facing side of Europe, for example in Ireland, Scotland, England, France, Portugal and Spain. It is generally dated to the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age period, which is approximately 3000 to 1500 BC. The most common symbol is the cup mark, which is a circular depression made into rock by humans grinding a harder stone against the surface. Sometimes the cup marks are surrounded by one or more concentric rings, which are referred to as ring marks. No precise reason for rock art or explanation of its meaning can be agreed upon. They could mark boundaries or pilgrimage routes, they could map the land or the skies, or simply be displays of strength or patience. Perhaps they were an ancient form of graffiti. I was here.